Hi, guys. Welcome back. Welcome back to Marant's Rants. Plenty of good information, a little bit of motivation, a whole lot of truth, no financial advice. This is part 3 of Connecting the Dots. This is a one-take session, no edits, no cuts, about how I'm connecting dots from private equity, law firms, to the top of the government, to the bottom of the stock market, to your investment, and why we talk about it. You know, I always start with GameStop, guys. I always go to AMC, and then I look at other things that are happening on this market, trying to explain what's happening with the stock market and this government. And what I just uncovered for myself kind of leads me in the right direction as to I'm invested in a great company, called GameStop. But let's go ahead and do part 3. Here we go, guys. Ride with me. All right. Digging deep this morning. I was doing some homework. Let's see what we found. Well, this is announced 2 to 3 days ago. I believe 3 days ago now. February 23rd. Today's the 26th. Okay. So this was 3 days ago. Apollo Global taps Sullivan and Cromwell partner to lead their legal team. So what they did was, this is Apollo. Apollo went ahead and said Thursday that Whitney Chatterjee. I butcher names and I don't care. Okay, Whitney Chatterjee, a partner of the New York law firm Sullivan and Cromwell, will take over leadership of its legal team. Guys, if you know anything about this law firm, Sullivan and Cromwell, I'm gonna connect the dots. Don't worry, I promise you guys. But I want you to know who they are first. Sullivan and Cromwell, the history of it, I have it here somewhere. Let's go ahead and look at them in general. Okay, one of the oldest law firms, 144-year-old law firm in New York. They were the original financing guys for the Panama Canal. Okay, they had 2 guys on their history. I want to say where they're at right now. I'm going to show you right now. They're brothers, Alan Dulles, I believe his name, Alan Dulles, and John Foster Dulles. I don't know if I'm saying the names correctly, but they were in the 50s, in the 30s, 50s, 40s, all that time frame. They were in charge of the CIA, Director of Central Intelligence. They were, I would tell you, this law firm was the CIA before the CIA, right? But in addition to that, they were doing all these things in the 50s and 60s, and that's the history of the law firm. I'm just trying to give an example. Their father was like Secretary of State. Their uncle was Secretary of State in the early time frames. But let's go ahead and look at the notable cases that this law firm has backed, and you're going to recognize a lot of the names. You're going to recognize the Kraft and Heinz thing. You're going to recognize that they're actually representing FTX, and I'll dig into that in a minute. AT&T and DirecTV, but as I go down, the bankruptcy of Kodak, they jumped in on that. They also had the Volkswagen and Porsche. When Volkswagen and them squeezed, we know what happened there. They were doing this. The Dodgers and Frank McCourt. Now, if you guys know about the Dodgers and Frank McCourt, this is what's really crazy for me. He filed for bankruptcy, and then he sold the team for like $2 billion, $3 billion, whatever it may be. But if you remember the guys who were making bids on the team, it was Apollo. It was Thomas James, whatever his name is, right? Thomas J. Lee or whatever. Thomas H. Lee. I apologize. I'm all over the place with names and the partners in it. Ryan, and you had Bain Capital, you had KKR. Everyone's involved, right? Now you go down. This law firm has represented Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, Fannie Mae, AIG, and this is all during the housing crisis 2008. Wachovia National City. They are bad dudes. And what I mean by bad dudes is they are playing in the world of the socially elite. Now, let's go through it. And this is just some history on it. The administration, it's called the Other Brother, because you had John Foster Dulles back in the day. They went ahead and they ran this whole thing. But that's back in the day, right? And that has ties to Nazi Germany, to World War I, you name it. These guys have been around for a long time. So I said, well, are they deep state associated? Yeah. And I dug even deeper. I keep reading. And I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because I want to get back to what we're talking about. And I don't mean to close out the pages like I do. I want to keep them open. So what I want to look at is this. So you saw that they tabbed that person. And I was trying to figure out the ties from Sullivan Cromwell, Apollo Global, to themselves with that new director. Well, now you have Jay Clayton. Now, when I look at Jay Clayton, he works for Sullivan and Cromwell, LLP, right? Jay Clayton was hired and then rehired. So he was with the law firm. He left to go to Apollo. He became a director at Apollo, which he is still to this day. He is a director, a non-executive chair director for Apollo. So he's on the board of directors for Apollo, and he gets rehired by Sullivan and Cromwell. I don't know what type of influence Apollo has over this law firm, or if it's the other way around. But when I look at hires like this individual here, she's an ex Sullivan Cromwell associate, and she has ties to Apollo now, and she's working for Apollo. People, this is how they do it. They just connect the dots, right, as I go through. But Jay Clayton, guys, is a former chairman of the SEC. He's one of the former chairmen. Like, you got to know they're hiring these guys and they're putting them in these positions of power and decision making, and that's how they do it. We all know who Bernanke works for now, working for Citadel. These guys get paid fees, but this guy is like a shield, and now they just hired a new one, right? So when I look at this and I look at Apollo and what they're doing, I even give you this example. Apollo had a fallout. They hired this guy, the SEC chief. They hired Jay Clayton when they had their fallout with the Epstein probe. Okay, so when it came through, that's who they hired, Jay Clayton, because they were being linked with the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and saying that they were allowing some deals to go through and basically facilitate his lifestyle. As you look at everything, I've been reading everything here, and I go through all the history of it all. I'm going to come up with more. So here you go. Cromwell and whoever are doing a deal, but it's by Apollo, right? So they're actually doing the deal for Apollo. If everything you see, everything you read, it's, hey, Barclays and Credit Suisse are advising Apollo while Sullivan and Cromwell are providing legal advice. So that's their law firm. And I had to go look for everything I could, but then I went ahead and found this gem, and I love this. Here we go. So this is a guy named Meta Lawman. Okay, he's on Twitter. You guys know I'm not on Twitter, but I Google Twitter every now and then to see if anyone writes a tweet that's going to be somewhat familiar that I like to see. And here we go. What is going on in the FTX bankruptcy case is odd, really odd. Much has been written about Sullivan and Cromwell conflict due to the prior legal work at FTX and Alameda. And I was like, okay, so they're involved in FTX and Alameda. But no one, to my knowledge, has mentioned Sullivan and Cromwell's other major conflict. Their other major conflict. Are you guys ready for this? At the same time, Sullivan and Cromwell, and I wonder if you guys can see. Is it big enough for you guys? Remember, no edits, no cuts. I don't care. Oh, yeah, you guys can read it. I hope you guys can. Zoom in on your phone or on your PC. At the same time that Sullivan and Cromwell lawyers have unrestricted access to all internal data about the value of FTX's assets and liabilities, Apollo Global has reportedly quietly buying up the creditor claims from FTX customers for pennies on the dollar. Guys, Apollo wanted this company, and Sullivan and Cromwell wanted FTX to file for bankruptcy a long time ago. And the minute they did, Apollo comes swooping in, and so does Sullivan and Cromwell. Sullivan and Cromwell comes in with fees, right? Attorney fees, $20 million, probably more than that by now. And then these guys come at the bottom, Apollo, and they're buying up all the debt that they can for pennies on the dollar because it's distressed. I mean, people are just going to give it away because who's actually paying up? The investor, the people, the guys who own the stock, or not the stock, but the cryptocurrency itself, the people who got robbed, but not these guys. So you might ask, where's the conflict? Guess who's the chairman of the board at Apollo Global? Jay Clayton. So it's a big problem. There's a big conflict of interest. But the other conflict of interest in that deal, and I'll show you right here. We can watch this video together. Right. Oh, let me make sure my volume's on for you guys. It is. Let's do it.
Eamon Javers joins us now with more. Eamon, good morning to you.
Good morning, Scott. There's a lot of money on the line here in Wilmington, Delaware this morning. We saw this dramatic late filing yesterday by FTX's former compliance officer alleging conflicts of interest and wrongdoing by Sullivan and Cromwell. That's the law firm that's now representing FTX during this bankruptcy proceeding. In a 17-page document, Daniel Friedberg alleges that Sullivan and Cromwell overbilled FTX by millions of dollars, manipulated the bankruptcy filing to generate fees for the firm, made knowingly false statements, and aided and abetted securities fraud. He also alleges that Sullivan and Cromwell installed John Ray as the new CEO of the firm in order to have a supporter who was leading the company. Now, the judge was expected to rule on whether the firm can proceed as FTX's counsel today. Not clear now after this late filing yesterday whether he's going to be able to do that today with these significant allegations that are now dropping in this proceeding. But FTX's new CEO, John Ray, did support Sullivan and Cromwell in a filing of his own this week, saying the firm has played an integral role post-bankruptcy in helping recover money for customers. Now, other filings that were made this week reveal the pay scale for Sullivan and Cromwell attorneys who are working on this bankruptcy, showing 4 attorneys are billing more than $1,000 an hour, and 3 of them are billing more than $2,000 an hour in this process. All of this comes after a day in which Ray said he's open to the idea of reopening the FTX.com crypto exchange, telling the Wall Street Journal yesterday that everything is on the table.
So we all know that's a lie. He wasn't opening to open it back up. It's not going to open back up. But what it is telling you is this, that Sullivan and Cromwell planted their guy, John Ray, because John Ray wanted to get in, be the CEO of the company, and then hire these guys to facilitate the bankruptcy. There's money to be made in bankruptcy, guys. And these lawyers know this. Apollo's making money off this bankruptcy of FTX. Additionally, and I found these two blogs here, and it's going to tell you that Ray got, and this is the guy, the main guy, he got $200,000 for go ahead and doing this in the retainer for the FTX bankruptcy. So he's making $200,000. Miller, which no one's talking about, and I'll talk about him in a minute, but let's do this one first. The judge, John Dorsey, he allowed it. He allowed Sullivan to go ahead and stay there in the case. And if you read way down here, you're going to find out who are the other attorneys involved in this case. The other law firms that are handling the bankruptcy filing are going to be Gibson, Dunn, and Crutcher. Oh, what do you know? We named them yesterday. How about White and Case as well? So numerous attorneys are involved, 18 state attorneys, and guess what they allow? They allow Sullivan and Cromwell to do what they're doing. And now why? Let's talk about it. Here you go. Here, and this is an easy video for me to make. Ryan Miller. Ryan Miller is the general counsel for FTX. Okay, he's their lawyer. When we tell you they have ties all the way to the top, and I know that the parents of the two involved, right? Sam Bankman-Fried's mom and dad are politically tied. The parents of the other girl, his girlfriend, everyone works at MIT. Everyone's worked with, I want to say Gary Gensler, if I'm not mistaken. But think about Ryan Miller for a minute, okay? This guy goes all the way down, and where did he work before? He worked for FTX, guys. He worked for Sullivan and Cromwell. Sullivan and Cromwell, 8 years. He's a partner with them. But I'll go even deeper than that. Where did he work before Sullivan and Cromwell? Where did he work? Legal counsel for Chairman Gary Gensler. Do you guys get this yet? How deep? How deep do you guys want to go? This is why nothing will ever happen. This is why Gary Gensler's on Twitter talking to nobody, David Lauer, talking in circles. But when you got a guy like this, the FTX founders, okay, I'll show you right here. This is it. Disgraced FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried ghosted his legal team after someone, this big tub of lard here, and I don't mean to talk about him physically, but Ryan Miller went ahead and he was insisting that FTX file for bankruptcy. Why? Because Sullivan and Cromwell were going to come in. Sullivan and Cromwell are going to come in and make millions off the bankruptcy, like they're doing now. It's all tied, and it's okay to happen. It's okay to happen because it's all orchestrated to a point. Apollo pulls strings, guys. If you don't think this is from the nature of Sullivan and Cromwell and the partnership they have with Apollo, then tell me why Apollo just named Sullivan and Cromwell to their board. Right here, they just tapped their legal team, a partner to their lead legal team. The main person is going to be involved now. You guys tell me how we connect these dots. And I'm going to tell you everything stems from Apollo. Sure. But they're all working together. And they have been for plenty of years. Guys, pay attention to deep state. Sure. I don't want to go down that pathway. But I will tell you this. This is the great news. You guys ready for the great news? None of this is happening in GameStop. We stopped it. It happened. Ryan Cohen stopped it. A lot of people stopped it. You stopped it. I stopped it. That's why I'm happy to see earnings coming out in about a week or 2, 3 weeks. And when that happens, I'll be excited. AMC is a damn death trap because look who you're partnered up with. It's these guys. If you don't think you're partnered up with these guys, Adam Aaron is Apollo. Let that sit in. Please. He worked there for over a decade. He's best friends with Leon Black. I'll let it just all sit on there. And you guys figure it out. This is crime. FTX is real. FTX really happened. And who's making money off of it? The vultures. Don't feed them, guys. Don't feed them. Short video for part 3, but what the hell? It's Sunday. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to try to get in shape. I'll get at you tomorrow, guys, on a live stream. Morant's Rants. Plenty of good information, a little bit of motivation, whole lot of truth, no financial advice. GameStop. Can't stop, won't stop, GameStop. I'm going to see you around, millionaires. Peace.